be careful what you wish for. You're looking at it right now. If I look sickly, it's because I made a mistake. I've always been able to, in retrospect, go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Unfortunately, I'm too good at playing down anything that's changed in me. I'm too good at, denying anything, any accomplishments. And so, I'm learning the hard way that that denial can actually get me in trouble. Because if I believe that I am the way I used to be, this is what happens. A couple of months ago, and I think I did have it in just one little section. I don't remember what video it was though, I'm sorry. Where I was talking about, in this act of mending, what you have to do in order to actually physically shift, you have to be mind, body, soul balanced. So in this act of mending my chakras, I actually found out that as I became more of what I really am, it affected my body. Even in human form, it affected my body. And there's apparently an intermittent phase between something that's simply just a phantom shift and a physical shift. There can be this sort of intermittent, more prolonged, I almost like to call it almost like metamorphosis, because it's a slower progress, but it's not exactly that. It's also the part where, it's physiology. It's things that you may not, it is technically physical, but it's things that you may not be able to visually see. Like perhaps, all of us usually have heightened senses anyway, but your heightened senses get even more heightened. Or your diet, literally, your diet changes. And that was what happened to me. It started to change a few months ago. Both things, but especially the diet thing. And your body feels different. You may be stronger than you ought to be. You may be more agile than you ought to be. Your instincts come to you easier. I've always had really, and I had to worry about instincts. But what I'm trying to say is that, everything kind of gets heightened. If you had something before, it's a lot more heightened. If you didn't have it before, now you do. And the thing I did not have before was the diet thing. I was always able before this started changing, I was always able to eat whatever the fuck I wanted to, in terms of whether it be vegetables or bread or meats or whatever. And I noticed throughout some shifting work that I did and some heavy mending work that I did, right after all that happened is when it started. I couldn't eat really any starch anymore, especially bread, but also potatoes and other starch-like vegetables. I could not eat anything fermented or aged, anything from kombucha to aged meat. Couldn't eat. Unfortunately, right now there's a lot of aged meat out there that, is really, I don't think they mean for it to be, but, unless you depend on it to survive. Right now the market is, with the economy, most people are not buying it, so it sits on the shelf too long. And it's not fresh, and it's either aged or it's completely rancid. And so I have to make do with what I have. And I thought that I could eat the aged stuff, because that's technically not rancid, right? And technically it's still good. But nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it makes sense, because what my alternate form is, it's a Ridgerson. That's why the name of this is Dark Heart Ridgerson. If you don't know what that is, you can look up the video on that. But it is something that goes out and hunts, and it never scavenges. And so that makes sense why I would not be able to stomach anything that a scavenger would be able to stomach. You know, people can stomach that, but that alternate form that I have, the Phrygiston, cannot stomach it because it needs something that literally was just, you know, a moment ago still running around. And you'll notice that predators like that, if there's something laying out there, if you give them something that's just laying out there and it's not moving, they'll totally ignore it. And it's, you know, I always used to think that's instinctual, but now I think that part of that instinct may be because if they did scavenge, they wouldn't be able to digest that. So, you know, there's a lot of predators that do both. They scavenge and they hunt. Mine doesn't do that. And so unfortunately, you know, I'm left with very little to choose from. I've been having to ration immensely what I have. And I just saw some canned vegetables and I thought, well, these were the kind that didn't used to bother me. These were the kind a couple months ago that I could still eat. Let me see if I can still eat these. And that is what you're looking at right there. The sickly look from trying to eat something I knew I probably shouldn't have. I couldn't stomach it at all. And part of it's still in me. I'm trying to get the rest of it out. Gently get the rest of it out without giving myself too much wrath. Just hopefully let it pass without, you know, forcing it out. But I definitely cannot digest it. So now I've gotten to the point where I can't eat really almost no vegetables. I haven't tried. I'm too afraid to try the rest of them. But I don't think I can eat any vegetables anymore. I can eat, I think I can still eat nuts. Some tree nuts, you know, like pecans, almonds. But other nuts I cannot eat. I can eat herbs. Not all herbs, but some herbs. And really nuts in paganism, especially tree nuts in paganism, is kind of considered an herb because of its medicinal properties. But really the easiest thing for me to digest, you know, just because you can digest it doesn't mean that it gives you the nutrition you need or that you can digest it wellly. You know, it just means that you don't get sick when you eat it yet. And so some of this stuff I know that I cannot digest wellly, but I don't get sick with it, like the nuts. And I know eventually I won't even be able to eat that probably, but you know, I was trying to make do with what I had, and I shouldn't have, because I had enough ration that I wouldn't have passed out. You know, it's not that bad. So I had enough in ration that I was good without eating something else that day. I should have just left it at that, and I most definitely would have, if I thought that I had done as much as I had done to my body. I downplay everything, I deny everything, and this was a brutal awakening to tell me, you cannot do what you used to do. Just like in this physiology, there's things that the human wouldn't be able to do. Well, unfortunately, it goes both ways. There's things that the human side can do that you can't do anymore. And I never really thought of that. I never really thought of that side of it. You know, I just thought, okay, you know, I'll be stronger and, you know, be able to have more heightened senses, and I'll be, you know, that the diet part of it will just be, okay, I'll need it for nutrition, but I never thought that I'd actually get sick as a dog if I ate it. I just thought, okay, it won't bring me nutrition. So there's an immense physiology, something's going on there, immense. To be to the point where I literally can't even stomach it. I can't process it at all. It's actually kind of dangerous, for me to swallow stuff like that because of what it's going to do once it gets in my stomach. So, it's something that, you think about it, humans can eat, certain kinds of berries, right? But they cannot eat a lot of other, what would be poisonous to them. And yet you see songbirds eat it just fine, and they're not bothered by the poisonous berries at all because to them it's not poisonous. It's that kind of thing where your physiology has changed so much that you kind of are sitting in between. Phantom shift, when I talk about phantom shift, it's you feel it, but unless you're extremely clairvoyant, no one's going to be able to see. Well, there's an in-between, there's an intermittent that can happen simultaneously with or without the phantom shift. And in this case, this was kind of without. I have phantom shifts almost every day, just, as a child, and it's always happened. But the phantom shift doesn't have to incite it, okay? It doesn't have to incite it. But it's kind of, phantom shift, as they said, happens right before physical shift. And that is true if you're in the act of shape-shifting, that is true. But when you get close to being balanced, what I'm finding is when you get close, your body is telling you, maybe you're not 100%, but you're getting close enough that physiology is starting to change. It's almost like it's preparing you for a physical shift, so that when you do actually physically shift fully, you'll be ready for it. And I think that it necessarily does not have to happen this way. But I think with me, it's getting stretched out and elongated because of that mending process that I have to do before I'm ready. And if I had less mending to do, I don't think this would get stretched out for that long of a time, before I'd be able to shift fully. So yes, it's something that, honestly, I wouldn't change. All I want to do is, all I've ever wanted to be is me. And as a child, I was severely abused. I shouldn't have survived a lot of things that I survived. And I was not allowed to be myself. And, whatever that is, I will take it. I will take it no matter what. And honestly, this is a bittersweet moment for me because, yes, it made me feel like shit, but it made me realize just how much I've been downplaying things, and that, no, this is real, because I did not expect this at all. And the only thing, I've ruled out everything else. I've ruled out, any kind of medical reason. And through, process of elimination, the only thing that makes sense is that it's the physiology that's changed. And so it's actually a good thing to know that okay, I'm one step closer to being what I really am, what I'm meant to be. And I'll take the mistake of denying that and the pain that comes with it as, kind of this bittersweet, no, this is real. That is why, I wanted to do this before the effects faded, that you could see, okay, something's going on. I obviously don't feel good. Whether for good or for bad, whatever the shift is, I'm going to document it. Whether you not believe me as to why, that is up to you. But documenting it as it happens like this, I still won't ever show physical shifting. I'll show